and they were super popular because no one has done that before.
Sure.
We did that first couple of North Korea tour, and we earned some money out of it, and it was immensely impressive. We still talk about that trip.
Okay, so now I'm with the co-founder of DeWonder, Rubio. It's great to have you. Thank you so much, Rubio.
Thanks.
It would be really nice like if we could know your like background on how you ended up starting this company and all that.
Right. Just a little bit introduction of DeWonder. It's a AI-based travel platform to help people personalize their trips and to get the best experience and knowledge throughout the travel journey. But before that, I have been in the tourism industry for a long time. Essentially, 10 years ago, when I first graduated, I was kind of already into the overseas exposure because I worked for the Hong Kong trade department where I can organize a lot of delegations and trade delegations to Saudi Arabia, for example. But 2 years after working in the government, I quit my job and I co-found a travel company and to bring people to really exotic destinations for a lifetime experience in traveling. And we brought people to places that you never imagined, like North Korea and Iran, Middle East, like Palestine. You know, a lot of people talk about that these days, and Ukraine, Russia, and also Cuba. So all those places that were not mainstream. At that time, because it's back to like 2014, 2015, that people are getting more interest in these places, partly because of the emergence of travel platforms, right? When you want to book a flight ticket, you don't need to go through a travel agent, right? So the barrier for going abroad has become a lot more easier. So people, when they are quite satisfied with traveling to all those easy places, like in Hong Kong context, right? So like Japan, Taiwan, Singapore, or Southeast Asia, they want to think of something else. So that's how this idea of bringing people to really exotic destinations come around. And then it took off. Like we had like 100 or over 100 tours a year. And we brought people to 30 something destinations. So it was a great run, but not until COVID-19 where we had to shut down business, right? During the 3 years we were more into tech. We found a tech Web3 company to launch, for example, different NFT projects. For example, we partner with an Oscar-winning IP. It's called The Departed. It's a really legendary movie, so we kind of got the IP and then we curate an NFT project around it with a Asian, very famous filmmaker and Marvel artist from the US. So we do projects like that. So after a great one, also in Web3, and also ups and downs, right? Just a few months back, so my co-founder and I thought about, it's time to go back to travel, right? Hong Kong. And this part of the world has opened as well. Like they were slower than the West, but they have opened. And so we think if we go back to travel, right, what we want to do, right? Because in the past we were really good in bringing people to travel as a tour. There is another opportunity, obviously, because of the emergence of ChatGPT, right, and all the generative AI. Oftentimes, if you go on travel yourself, maybe you can read Wikipedia and all that, but what about we can feed you the content that you exactly like? So that's what we're gonna do with AI and with our experience for running really unique tour experience.
I just wanted to ask more on so you had a pretty you had the path to go on a stable career, right? Like when you were working for the government, just like I was.
Really?
And I know like it's not easy to like actually quit and start your own company, right? Because
Yeah.
like why did you like end up wanting to do that, and like how did you feel when you first started your own company?
Well, it was interesting. During my last year in my university, which is University of Hong Kong, a NGO from Canada. So they were a bunch of graduates of Brown universities. So they found this project called the Pyongyang Project.
Okay.
So they did a very meaningful program. So they kind of negotiated with the Pyongyang government to bring some of the students out to China
Really?
for learning English, taught by the foreigners that they brought from Canada or US. So the place for studying was it's called the Yanji University. Is in the northeastern province of China, which is a Korean ethnic dominant province of China. But they're Chinese Korean, right? I was in my final year. They run a program that can bring us to North Korea and to be able to really study in depth about the country. I was like, wow, that was super impressive, and I literally asked those organizers like, well, wow, I mean, how can I organize a organization like that? Like, is there any way I can do it? And I remember one of the members just said, you know what is psychological, it's not physical, right? If you want to do it, just do it. For Asian students, we were not quite encouraged to do whatever we want, right? But if you live in America, people just do whatever they want, or the parents told them to do whatever they want. So when I was in that Harvard program in particular, I saw people telling me like, oh, you know what, Rubio, I'm going to Asia next year. I will not buy a return ticket. I will just be there for a year maybe. But for graduate in Hong Kong, they were all busy looking for MT, looking for government jobs, applying for civil servant, preparing for the lawyer exams. It was very different, and I was ultimately inspired by that North Korea trip. But,
Oh, wow.
but by that time, I already got the offer to work in the trade department.
I see.
So during that 2 years, I was always talking to my partner. We were running some experimental trips. So we already put on a website. At the time, the organization was called something like Eastern Vision, right? It was very academic. So I want to replicate that kind of experience that I had. So we started bringing people to Macau, which is the closest place. And at the beginning, it didn't work because a 2 days trip to Macau wasn't something that Hong Kong people would do, because what Hong Kong people would think is just going to Macau for gambling and stuff. But we brought them to to visit places that has a Portuguese culture, that talk to professor about the current relationship of China and Portugal, about Macau, something like that. So then we twist that into a 1 day tour later. It was still largely rejected by local people, but there are 10 exchange students applied. We were so much motivational, like we went to Macau and do all this stuff and talk to people, ask them if they can talk to our students. So it was something that we really liked, and the student enjoyed in the end. So that gave us the courage to, okay, it's time to run a trip to North Korea. So I connect back to people who brought me in the first place, got some connection, and they would start promoting in campus. At the beginning, it was just for university students, and they were super popular because no one has done that before. Sure. We did that first couple of North Korea tour, and we earned some money out of it, and it was immensely impressive. We still talk about that trip. My partner and I still talk about, because there are a Danish guy who enrolled. We still have a really good relationship because we were young, we were fresh. He is, very curious, and you often remember how you started. And then that actually gave me signal to quit my job. So I kind of run that before I quit my job.
Oh, really?
So my partner, he did most of the things, and I took my annual leave to run the tours, to to go to North Korea.
I see.
So it's funny that when people took annual leave to Japan and stuff, I took my annual leave to go to North Korea with my father's students, right?
I wanted to, were you like the first person to actually do these kind of trips to North Korea from Hong Kong, or?
From Hong Kong, yes. Trips to North Korea is not really new, but the way we run it, like, because we use social media a lot to promote the tour. Back then, tour was still a very traditional thing. People need to go to a certain office to apply. It's usually just welcomed by the middle-aged to old people, right? But we attract a lot of young people, and we use social media to connect people a lot. We do all the infographic to talk about this country's cultures and all that. We invite scholars, speakers to talk about, you know. So it was a new thing from experiential perspective, and we love it, and we were lucky as well. It's until now that I knew how costly that decision was. But back then I wasn't aware of it, like, because I knew if I were working in that position for 20 years, I exactly knew how much I earned, right? But for me, the next few years running a travel company, at the beginning I never caught up the same earning of that government position. So I understand why from society point of view a government job is so preferred, because that's just stable and predictable. When I was working in government, I think it's exciting and all that, but at the same time, all of my supervisors or high officials, obviously they were very well off, right? They were well paid, but all day they just talk about which international school, you know, their kids should be sent to, you know, which restaurant they should go, the next lunch, the next dinner, which I'm not judging, like, because that's just part of life. But I really ask myself, like, whether I want to become them, right?
Do you think, like, are many people like you, like, people who take risks here in Hong Kong, or is it common?
Wow, I think it's a very good question. I think traditionally, it's like exactly 10 years back, people still more stick to the traditional path more, because Hong Kong still is a very developed economy. For university graduate, it's not difficult to find a job that is quite well paid in all of East Asia. That's actually a good thing for society. Back then, there was not even people talking about, you know, founding startup, you know, going to tech. But I think right now is a little different. First of all, Hong Kong underwent great changes since 3 years ago. Many people left Hong Kong, especially the young people, and I think that has shaken up the consensus of getting a good job and then stay here for a stable life. You know, people don't care anymore. Like, okay, it's fine. I can just go to UK next year. I can just go to Canada next year. A lot more people have moved to London and UK.
But what sort of like Japanese connections would you be like looking for?
Travel strategic partner, if there is.
Travel partners,
such as people who are really well connected in the tourism industry in Japan and Tokyo. Like someone who can open doors to maybe the tourism board of Japan, maybe the booking platform of Japan. Definitely want to catch up, collaborate, whatever. Maybe they even want to invest. Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was great talking to you, man.